About 2 weeks ago was the 2018 24 Hours of Le Mans. I was actually intending to make this video earlier, but I was really busy, so excuse the delay. For those who do not know what the 24 Hours of Le Mans is, it is a 24-hour endurance race that takes place once every year in the province of Sarthe in France, and it involves a whole host of cars competing for victory in their own class. And some of these cars are LeMans Prototypes, or LMPs, which are again divided into LMP1s and LMP2s. A couple decades ago this was called Group C, I believe. But let's return to the present. For the first time on this channel, I want to introduce an LMP1 car. So without further ado, this is going to be the review of the 143 scale 2012 Audi R18 e-tron quattro. And this model is made by IXO. Now regarding the 2018 24 Hours of Le Mans race that took place around 2 weeks ago, the team that won was Toyota. And I'm so happy for them because 2 years ago, in 2016, they were so close to their first ever victory. But then in the last lap, just like 2 minutes away from the finish line, after 23 hours, 58 minutes, their lead car broke down, and victory was instead claimed by Porsche. So this year, in 2018, Toyota won for the first time, and became the second Japanese manufacturer to win the 24 Hours of Le Mans, with the other one being Mazda and their legendary 787B. Of course, there was a caveat in 2018, and that is that Toyota was basically racing against itself, because the only other LMP1 competitor was Rebellion Racing, and they aren't really known for being competitive. You see, Porsche pulled out after their victory in 2017, and Audi was already gone after 2016. So of the three major competitors, only Toyota remained. And some were even thinking that the LMP1 class is going to no longer exist. But we'll see what the future holds. Now in this video I want to review an LMP1 car that's a little bit older than these past couple of years, because this is the 2012 car, and this is from an era where LMP1s were dominated by Audi. I'm not a fan of Formula 1 cars. I don't really watch the whole Formula 1 racing, but there's always something that really inspires me about Le Mans. Probably because the cars that compete in Le Mans are, apart from these LMP1s and LMP2s, also road-going cars that have basically been turned into race cars, such as Ferrari 458s, 488s, Aston Martins, and so on. But the interesting thing about these LMP1 cars is that every single one of them is ridiculously expensive. I mean, I'm not talking Bugatti Chiron expensive, or Koenigsegg expensive. I'm talking about a single LMP1 car costing almost $30 million to make. Because that's the price tag of this one. And you know what else is interesting? This is a hypercar that runs on diesel. When we think about supercars and hypercars, we always think about gasoline-driven cars because there's barely any diesel-driven supercars and hypercars out there. But the thing about endurance racing is that high revs do not really matter. What matters is how efficient you are over long periods of time. And that is exactly where the diesel engine comes into play. The thing about diesel LMP1s, and this is a technology that Audi pioneered, is that not only do they require fewer pit stops than gasoline-driven LMPs, but they also have almost instant torque, making them fly around corners if the tires have the necessary grip. So I got this model back in mid-2016 off CK Model Cars for approximately 13 euros, which was a great deal back then. Today I think it retails for something like 19 to 25 euros. Still affordable in the 143 range, and definitely one with tons of detail, as this review will show. So let's get the model out of the box. The Audi R18 is a LeMans Prototype, or LMP1 race car, and successor to the open cockpit R15 TDI. Like its predecessor, the R18 uses a 3.7-liter V6 turbocharged direct injection diesel engine capable of 532 brake horsepower. This is less than the previous Audi R18 was capable of, but the V6 engine's fuel consumption is lower than that of the outgoing V10 engine on the R15, and fuel consumption, or the amount of time you lose due to the number of pit stops you need to make during the race, is the reason why diesel hypercars dominate the 24 Hours of Le Mans. So this is the 2012 spec R18, subtitled e-tron Quattro. Piloted by Alan McNish, Tom Christensen, and Rinaldo Capello, this is the number 2 car that coincidentally also finished second in the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 2012. In fact, Audi secured the entire podium for itself, with the number 1 car placing first, also an e-tron Quattro, while third position was taken by an R18 Ultra. Interestingly, 2012 also marked the first time where the 24 Hours of Le Mans was won by a hybrid. You see, the R18 e-tron Quattro is actually a hybrid equipped with a KERS, a kinetic energy recovery system, as well as 2 100 HP Bosch motor generator units, driving the front wheels that provide the car with the Quattro 4-wheel drive. The Quattro system, however, as per the regulations, is available only at speeds above 120 km per hour. So here's a close-up of the front of the car. And what you're seeing here is something that Audi calls the Matrix Adaptive Light System, where the individual LEDs switch on or off to follow the steering through the corners for the perfect light beam. You can see the 4 rings of Audi here, as well as a flag of Germany. Got a little Michelin logo down there. The Bosch logo. Another Michelin logo here. And of course the 24 Hours of Le Mans. What else we got? Another 24 Hours of Le Mans logo here. Some indicators. And then up here you can see it says Audi e-tron Quattro. As per the new rules for Le Mans starting 2011, the car features a stabilization fin on the engine cover and has a 6-speed gearbox as well. You can see the fine antennas right here. And this black little piece here is actually a rear-facing camera mounted on top of the car, because the driver in there has absolutely no idea of knowing what exactly is directly behind him, apart from seeing through these side mirrors, because there's no rear view mirror inside the car, so they have to mount another one here. Now these things here are actually supposed to be position LEDs, that is to say lights which basically tell you how many laps ahead this car is. So it gives then other cars which this car basically passes an idea of how far ahead the LMP1 is compared to the other cars. I'm actually pretty happy with the quality of the livery here. I mean, you can see all the individual details and all that done very nicely. You can see the Bosch logo here, little Michelin man here, and all the other companies sponsoring Team Audi, and of course the Audi e-tron Quattro logo right here. The HY stands for hybrid. Let's take a closer look at some of these logos here, because they look pretty small. Now, would you look at that level of detail? You can see the details right down to the Danish, Scottish, and Italian flag for the drivers. You can even see the latches here that hold the cockpit together, or the door, basically. Lots of fine detail going on. Now, if we take a closer look at the rims, these are supposed to be OZ magnesium forged wheels with Michelin radial 360 710 R18 front and 370 710 R18 rear tires. You can even see the Michelin logo down there, so very authentic. And if you look closely, you can even see the OZ branding on the rims themselves. And behind them, you can see the brake disc as well as the brake caliper. Very detailed. And here's a close-up of the back of the car. So starting back here, you can see the e-tron and the Quattro logo on this gigantic rear diffuser. You can see the exhaust here. In terms of aerodynamics, this is truly marvelous. I mean, just look at how the air can flow through around the cockpit and then back out of the car. You have to keep in mind that race cars like these both need downforce so that they can stick to the ground, and at the same time they have to reduce drag on the straights. And that's where this fin comes into play. It's a fancy spoiler with an Audi logo, of course. Here's a close-up of the side view mirrors. And you can see that the wheel arches are open to allow the tire temperature to regulate itself, as well as any debris that the tires pick up to be ejected from the top, instead of getting caught inside the wheel arches. Now let's see if we can get a glimpse of the cockpit inside. It's really hard to do on a 1/43 scale car, but you can see that there is a cockpit in there. I mean, IXO made sure not to black out the windows, so they did put some detail in there. You can see the steering wheel. See that? Ever so slightly you can see into the cockpit. Now if you look closely behind the windshield, you can see that it even has the sub-belt seat belts. So that's quite a lot of detail for a 143. And here's a close-up of the windshield wiper, as well as 2 more antennas here. And back here we have more vents. And up here we got an interesting air intake that channels the air from the front all the way to the back and probably out of these little vents here and here. So I hope you guys liked my review of the 143 scale 2012 Audi R18 e-tron Quattro by IXO, and I'll see you in the next video. This is Imperial Diecast signing out.